Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my practice session series for the Red Hat Certified Specialist in Managing Automation with the Ansible Automation Platform EX467 exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click the subscribe button. Also, a reminder that these videos are my practice sessions for the exam. I'm going through all of the posted objectives from Red Hat and either demonstrating or trying to explain the concepts behind the objectives. And at the end of the video, I'll do a little assessment and hopefully I'll feel pretty confident about the objective. My exam is just over a week away, and if not, then I have just a little bit of time left to fill in some knowledge gaps before the exam. That being said, these should not be considered tutorials, nor should they be considered training materials or authoritative information. I do try to have the information accurate because, I'm preparing for the exam and I hope that the things that I've learned are correct, but I'm learning all this stuff right along with you, and so I would not consider these tutorials or anything authoritative with that. I put these on the internet because hopefully people that are also preparing for these exams might see some of the things that I do to prepare and get some ideas of things that they can do themselves. So we're moving into the Manage Access to Private Automation Hub section of the objectives, and I think I can cover all three of these in a single practice session, but we'll see. If it gets too long, I might break that up. But we'll go into our automation hub. So for me, that's going to be labhub.internal.ejslab.com, and apparently I still have my session active from my other video. So this is all going to be in the user access section. And one critique I guess I have of Ansible Automation Platform is, you have users and groups in Automation Hub, but you have users and teams in Controller. Now I would like to have some continuity of terms. I'm sure there's thought that went into making them be totally different things. I guess I could see teams from the perspective of you probably have more people touching Automation Controller, but that's just one little gripe of mine. So I think we'll start with users first. So we have the basic user that is made when you create your Automation Hub super user. If we were to make another user, I'm going to give it username of test user 1. I can spell user right. We can give it first name, last name, give it an email address if you want, make its password. And really the big thing for this is whether or not this user is a super user. So let me give it, we'll just call it the best password ever, password. We don't have any groups to put them in. And this idea of super user or not, if they're a super user, think of them as basically root. They'll have access to every aspect of Automation Hub, all the collections, anything with repositories with execution environments, the entire gamut. So if I were to, we'll go ahead and make this person a super user. And we'll save. Oh, really? They have, well, that's good. Kind of annoying for a lab setting, but I guess it's good for a production thing. They won't let you use a password called password. So let's do good old monkey123 with a capital M. I remember reading years ago that was like one of the most common passwords used was like monkey123. I always thought that was funny. I use monkey123. No. Well, you accepted my password of secret when I was, making the environment. Let's see. Well, let's do this. Let's try password monkey123. Okay, so password monkey123 worked. We see that it is a super user. We'll make a second user. Call it test user 2. I thought I had that the same. Password monkey123. We are not going to make this a super user, and we don't have any groups to put this person in. We click save. So then we have regular user and super user. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the various access permissions are given to the groups within Automation Hub, or at least to the best of my understanding. So the whole role-based access stuff, I can't go to test user 2 here and click that user and give them access to various things. That's going to be done with groups, which we'll do in just a moment. But just to show you what that user is going to see, let me log out. Log into test user 1 first. What? I thought I had typed password monkey. Maybe, well, let's go back in as the admin user and fix that. That is one thing on the exam. If you're having to make users, which I imagine we're probably going to have to do that on the exam, probably a good idea to initially make 100% sure that the whatever password you typed in works. And actually, what I'm going to do is cheat just a bit and just do copy paste. Oh, tester user, that's what I did wrong. Let's fix that. That's probably what the issue was. I'm sure you watching the video saw that and were just waiting for me to figure it out, right? Now we're in, and that user can see everything. So I'm going to log out as test user 1, log in as test user 2, and see what it can see. And as you can see, it basically doesn't have access to almost anything. If we go to collections, it can see the published collections. It's able to see the Red Hat certified collections. It's able to make itself an API token, which that's for being able to use Ansible Galaxy to download stuff. It's able to see the current namespaces. It cannot, I believe, cannot create its own namespace. It's able to see the repositories, but it cannot alter them in any way. You can see the execution environments. It apparently can add one. Kind of surprised with that. I wasn't expecting that. It can't configure remote repositories. It looks like it can see various tasks that have been done. Okay, cool. So let's go back to our administrator user. So going back to the objectives, make sure I try to stay focused here. Configure user types. Yep, done that. That's fairly easy. Create users, assign them to groups. We have not assigned them to groups yet, but we need to create our group. So let's go to groups. We'll create a group. We're going to name it test group 1. And we have a group. Yay. We don't have any users in this group yet. We can go to users and add users if we want. We're going to add test user 1 to this group. And by the way, if I were to go back to users and create one, I now have a group that I could go ahead and, there we go. I have a group that we can go ahead and associate a user to, so you don't have to do this extra step. As I mentioned before, all of your permissions come from whatever group that your user is in. And I think it's kind of important to note when you're kind of wrapping your head around how permissions work with Private Automation Hub, and this is also true for Automation Controller, is the fact that all of our little things within this environment are objects. You have a collection, a user, a group, on and on and on. And these objects are what you're granting permissions to be able to do. For example, with collection namespaces, you have the permission to add a namespace, change a namespace, delete it, or upload to the namespace. And if we were to go back, actually what I'm going to do, I need to log out and back in as test user 1. No, test user 2. That's our unprivileged user. And go back to namespaces, and we see that there's nothing available for them to be able to add within namespaces. So let me do a separate tab here. This will be well, I probably can't do that the way that I want. Anyway, so what we'll do, actually I'm going to remove test user 1 because that was the super user. I'm going to add test user 2 to this group. And in this group, we're going to grant users in this group the right to add a namespace. And I guess we'll also give them the right to, or no, we'll just do add a namespace because I'm curious to see if this will work permissions wise. So great, that user or that group has that permission. Let's log back in as test user 2. And if we go to namespaces, we now have the create button available to us for the all of the namespaces. So let us do test group 2 as the namespace, and the whole idea of, or test group 1 for the namespace, the whole idea of owners is that if you specify, and we'll test this to make sure, if you specify a particular owner of a namespace, then I believe they get all the different rights to a particular namespace. I may be wrong with that. I see. So granted it the current rights that it has for namespaces. Can we add? I see. This is one of these things with preparing for the exam that I don't think, or I know I haven't dug into every single type of permission that you can give, and probably that was an error on my part. I should have spent some more time with it rather than getting like a cursory level knowledge. So this will be something that I'm going to rehearse different scenarios between now and the exam for this. But it looks like the permissions that you have available to you are the permissions that were given to the group that is the owner of this. So that's kind of interesting. We're going to put something to the test here. So create a little group. And now we can upload collections. So what I want to do, go back to my administrator user. We're going to create a test group 2. We're not going to grant it any permissions. I'm going to make user test user 3. Put that person in test group 2. Save it. And we are going to log out. So I'm curious to see what test user 3 can see from a namespace perspective. Obviously it doesn't have any namespaces of its own. It can't create a namespace. I have the Eddie namespace, remember making that from before. It looks like it can view test group 1. Can't make any changes to it, but it can view it. Okay, that's kind of interesting. So now let me go back to test user 2. And test user 2 is able to upload collections and the like. All right, that's good. Go back to our administrator user. Let's see what else. Oops. See what else that we would want to do with group access. Or let me go back to the objective real quick. So we need to create groups, assign different permissions to groups, create users, assign them to groups. We've done that. Let's look at test group 2 here for other permissions. I suppose I could go through and talk about each of these. I mean, the permissions are really kind of self-explanatory if you just read the stuff. I mean, you can, within collections themselves, so we have the namespaces. You have to have a namespace to be able to do something, right? The collections themselves, you can delete a collection, you can modify the content, whether or not you have rights for users, whether or not you have rights for groups. I am curious though, I guess we can, there's something that I can test with that. Just a moment. Work with collection remotes, your containers. This is really dealing with the execution environments. And then your task management. I haven't done much with the actual task management. Maybe that's something that we can play with. But there are a couple of things I did want to test. And one, we are going to give, what group are we in? Test group 2. We're going to give test group 2 the permission to change groups and delete groups. And so what I want to see if test user 3 now has the right to, okay. So even though it supposedly has the right to change and delete groups, we can't view them. So therefore we can't actually see the groups. That's what I was wondering what would happen there. So let's grant that right to be able to view the groups. It's kind of an odd set of permissions, but that's also something I do encourage you, even though I've said earlier I haven't done a whole lot of this, is take the time to just play with different permission sets just to see what would happen, because I could see on the exam having some objective of you need to have a user or group with that they won't tell you the permissions to assign them, but they'll describe like the capability that they need to be able to do, and then it is your job to figure out what permissions to give them. Now, of course, I could be wrong with that, and if I do know, I wouldn't be able to tell you anyway. But I could see that as being a way that this is assessed on the exam. So now that we have the view permission, we can see the groups and we can edit and delete other groups. It's not just that permission to your particular thing. Now, the other thing that I wanted to test as far as collections. Let me go back to test group 1. And it has the permission to add a namespace, but not to upload anything. So let's go back to our namespaces. What did I call that? Just test group 1? Yeah. So let's go to our command line, and we're just going to create a little collection. It's not going to have anything in it, but we're going to test the uploading. So Ansible Galaxy collection init, and we're going to call this test group 1 test collection. If there's anything I need to do here, I don't think so. Nope, we're not going to deal with any dependencies. We do need to alter the meta runtime to where it has an Ansible, requires Ansible. Oops. And that's it there. So Small Galaxy collection build, and we have that there. So what I want to do is log out and log in as test user 2. Go into our test namespace, or test group 1 namespace, view collections. I'm going to try to upload a collection. I don't think I will have the rights to do this, but let's see. So I was able to upload that. I do notice that it does not have the permission to approve stuff, so someone else is going to have to approve this. Let's go back to our admin user. There's the collection for approval. Maybe that is really what that was about. Let me go back to my groups. Test group 1, confirm that test user 2 is in that. They have the add namespace permission. I find it curious that that I was able to upload to the namespace without that. I'm going to save the upload to namespace permission, and we're going to see what changes for test user 2. And I think that's going to get it. No, it doesn't give it the right to approve. Go back to our admin user. Go back to groups. Test group 1. I'm going to grant it the change namespace. Maybe what I need to do is modify Ansible repo content to be able to change or add approval. I think that's probably what I'm going to need. But let's just see if change namespace, what it gives us. Test user 2. And we really can't we can make some changes to the namespace itself. Change namespace, upload the namespace. Yep, that's what I expected. Let's log back in as the admin user. Go into test group 1, and we are going to allow modify repo content. Test user 2. And there is the approval. So we can now approve our namespace. So the only really strange kind of thing is, I guess, potentially what we could have done. Let me go back to the namespace. we're going to remove that permission. So even though let's see what happens here. So we have removed the upload to the namespace permission from that namespace. Let's go back to, actually let's use test user 1 just to prove that because they are a super user, they have access and can do whatever they want. So we'll use it to alter the group and remove the upload to namespace permission there. Let's log back in as test user 2. See if we're able to upload a collection. Yeah, we can't delete a collection. Let me make another one here. Ansible Galaxy collection init, test group 1, test collection 2. And then we will make the tar file. Okay, so now we no longer have the permission to do that. That's what I was expecting to see before. So now what I want to test is granting the group the permission to upload a collection. However, not have that explicitly done as the group configuration within that namespace. So let me go back to test group 1. We're going to add upload to namespace, but we're going to go into the namespace for test group 1. And we have namespace owners, test group 1, and we are not going to have the upload to namespace. And let's see what happens. Oh, I was already in the test group 1 namespace. All right, and let's see if we can still, if we're allowed to upload the collection. Okay, so I guess the idea of the collection owner is that permission is going to take precedent over the overall group permission. And that kind of makes sense as far as how you would, I guess, look at inheritance of permissions. But just to confirm that this will eventually work, let's now grant the namespace owners the chance to upload and confirm that that group can indeed upload, which it should not have a problem this time. Yep, and it's doing its thing, and then we'll be able to approve it because of the modify collection repo permission. So trying to think this through as far as, all right, so what would real life be like with this? I suppose you would have a group that is kind of like the administrators of your namespaces that has the access to be able to do what needs to be done. But then you would have like a subordinate group that does not have the rights, and you make it an owner of a namespace and give it the right to upload. I guess we could try that. So let's do this. I know I'm starting to get long. Probably should have broken this into a second video, but sometimes when you get into a groove in a practice session, you want to just keep going. All right, so let's look at test group 2's permissions. All right, so your permissions are just being able to work with groups. Cool. All right, so what we are going to do, let me go back to test group 1's permissions, and we are going to basically make them administrators of namespaces. So we're going to create a namespace. We're going to call it test group 2, and the namespace owners are test group 2. Yeah, and then they would be able to make changes to their namespace and upload to a namespace, even though they don't have the explicit permissions. So let's put that to the test. So we have our test user 3 that's a member of test group 2. Let's create ourselves another collection. So Ansible Galaxy init collection. Init, this will be test group 2, test collection 1. And we will create the tar.gz file, have that ready to go. Okay, so let's log into test user 3. We'll go to the test group 2 namespace, and even though this group does not have like the global permission, maybe that's the term I should have been using, the global permission to upload to the namespaces. We have specified that test group 2 as an owner has that permission. Yep, and it's able to upload. All right, so assessment. We have managing access to private automation hub, or manage access to private automation hub. I clearly understand the different user types. You either are a super user or you're not. And the super user is basically root that has access to everything. I can create users and assign them to groups, did that. The ability to assign different permissions to groups, obviously no problems with that. I probably need to review a little bit more of the different permissions and try to think through some different scenarios of setting permissions. And it was good that I did review this today, because I'd get that concept of the permissions at the group owner level of a namespace versus the general namespace permission with that. I probably need to practice some stuff with the execution environment and container permissions, just try some different scenarios with that. But I think overall I'm fairly well prepared for manage access to private automation hub in the exam, doing a couple brushing up of things. So if you found the video useful or enjoyed it, or got some enjoyment of watching me not necessarily struggle through this, but work my way through, then make sure you do click like on the video. As always, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, and invite anyone who hasn't subscribed to click the button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be aware of when new content comes available. Thank you for your time, and I will see you the next time.